having great parents, and basically at 18, 19, 20, I was obsessed with helping them. And what I thought at 18, 19, and 20 was that meant that I was gonna build the Toys R Us of wine, as I called it, which was I planned on, for 7, 8 years I studied Walmart and Target and 7-Eleven. I really thought my destiny was going to be to open up 100 or 200 physical wine superstores around the country, and that's how I was gonna do it. And then, I walked into a dorm room in college and heard coo-cooch, and for the kids in the room that don't know what that is, that was dialed up internet. And really that afternoon, I knew my life had changed, truly. I didn't know how, but I literally, and this is really gonna be funny for the kids, the internet was so crazy in 94, 95, that I literally stood behind somebody on a desk on the internet and watched people take 1 hour turns to be on the internet, and we would watch them be on the internet. And I literally stood there that first night, starting at 9 p.m., and at 1 in the morning, it was my turn. And I got on the internet, and in about 5 minutes, I found a bulletin board selling baseball cards, and I just, my commerce and entrepreneurial DNA took over, and I just kind of never was quote unquote the same. And there's been different smaller versions of that throughout my career when I realized that email was free and I could send sales material through it, or when Google AdWords came out, that was an unbelievably big moment in my career. And then when I saw YouTube and MySpace and Facebook and blah, blah, blah. And so the biggest thing on my mind coming in here today is this isn't like my normal talks or podcasts that I have to do right now where I have to convince people you better stop fucking around, this is here, right? You know that. This is a very weird one that I was excited about, which is, are you squeezing this opportunity hard enough? Do you realize the serendipity of your career put you in a place where you can understand this stuff more? And more importantly, do people in this organization know that the customer service CX leaders in this room actually could become one of the loudest voices within the organization alongside a CTO or a CIO around the effectiveness or the realities of these tools, because you're coming from a place of practitionership and practicality, not academia and thesis. Understand? Let's clap it up for each other on that. There's a reason I asked for that clap. I need to reset everyone here in a very, I'm gonna break it down nice and slow one more time for the kids in the back. There are very few individuals within organizations that are actually already at the forefront of this being implemented, and they can place and taste it. This is a substantial advantage for all of you, and not knowing one's ambition in this room, you look back to the history of time. Let me give you a historical comp. In the 80s, when home computers and you had developers, if I sat here and this was 1985 and you were all coders, I could say things like, I believe in 40 years, some of you could end up being the CEOs of the biggest companies in the world. That wasn't obvious then. An internet developer didn't, or a computer developer didn't go to the CEO suite. But over time, it became so important that became real. I personally believe, oh, there it is. The second book I ever wrote. This is actually a good visual, if you bear with me. The first book I wrote in my life, Crush It, I wrote in 2008. I basically said that you could make money on the internet, on YouTube and Facebook. I basically talked about being a creator or influencer. The first 50 reviews on Amazon, I got 1 star and everyone said I was a snake oil salesman because nobody would ever make $100,000 a year on YouTube. Stan Store, an incredible tech stack for creator entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial creators, is literally the tech stack based on what I wrote in Crush It and Crushing It, and really the thing almost all of you are trying to build. So if you are one of those people, go to the GaryVee challenge that I've partnered up with this investment I made in Stan Store. I believe in this. I believe in it for you. You'll see why I love it. GaryVee.com/Stan. Go check it out. Now back to the video. That book changed my life because it was really the book that went most viral in the culture around the concept of internet personal brand, where it all was. It came out in 2009. A lot of you know this. It wasn't on everyone's radar. Now it seems like it is the conversation. But the second book, out of all the things I could have ever written about in my life, the second book I ever wrote on the back of a massive New York Times bestselling book with a lot of pressure on me and a lot of opportunity on me, the second book I ever wrote was The Thank You Economy. Basically, The Thank You Economy is a book, if you've ever skimmed it, or if you want to AI, the summary of it. I have a funny feeling that the AI and the LLM would come back and say, basically, it talks about humanity in business. It talks about scaling the unscalable. It was a story basically based on the fact that I believed, there was a quote in there that I used a lot on stage back then, which said, the more we become like the Jetsons, my belief is those who act like the Flintstones will win. And to break that down for the kids that have no idea what the fuck those two cartoons are, in the 70s and 80s, 60s, there was two cartoons that were quite popular. One was in outer space and one was prehistoric. And my belief was in 2011 that technology would do what it's done. It would commoditize much. It would commoditize much. But it was the humans that knew how to be the most human that would actually win by weaponizing or understanding those tools. Now, I had heard of AI concepts back then, but that's not really what I was alluding to. It was more that I was alluding to, if you treated Twitter and Facebook and Instagram not to just post stuff with the hope that you get something, but you get into the comments and the DMs and you actually care about people and you listen to what they say and you actually engage with them, you could win. I can tell you that the only reason I have personal brand and I am known is because from 2007 to 2011, I literally spent 7 to 11 hours a day replying to every person on Twitter that ever engaged with me and or even referenced anything about wine. As you can imagine, thinking back that took me 5 years of my life where I now can have an AI agent do that for me is interesting to think about. But I think the point is taken. I'm sure it's not lost on all of you. Everything that you know right now is going to become standard. The point I was making with the engineer in 1985 is the point I'm making with all of you. I genuinely believe a CX, customer service, mindset human within an organization that does $5 to $500 million in revenue, that is being very thoughtful of how to get very smart about everything to do with AI because they are in the serendipitous position to be interacting with it in real life, not in decks and theory, have the biggest upside professionally in a lot of organizations over the next 25 years. And so I come here today out of joy and really my belief, and I could be wrong, you might all, maybe I'm naive. My belief is I do not believe that this audience understands the upside in front of them, and I was interested in coming and telling you that it is. That's what I have to say. All right? Now, what do we do about that? What does that mean? Couple things. I think it starts with execution. I think the biggest thing I'm actually asking and the biggest thing that I would implore all of you to do, not knowing how senior some of you are or where you are in the organization, you must become a practitioner of these tools. This is very important. This cannot be where you're the architect and everybody knows it in detail. For example, back to a comp, in my social media world, I still write the copy for every post I post on Instagram. Everybody 1/100th of the size of my audience has outsourced that to their intern, to their this, to their that. I implore you, the luxury of having the ability to have your hands on the steering wheel of these tools right now is one of the great opportunities of your career. This is really pretty historically true over the last 30, 40 years of technology. It is the ones that are practitioners and understand the tools and the craft that win every growth opportunity in front. This one's so intimidating, and you know this. Many of you started off, many of you, the second you heard about this for your thing, got scared it was gonna fuck you up. You know that people are hesitant to this thing. People are concerned. CFOs like it. But a lot of other people are quite concerned about it. And I think you take that as an advantage. What I mean by that is, of course you should inspire, especially if you have teams, they have to do their thing. But I think in practicality, this is the time to really get deep on these tools. If you're using this tool or other tools, this is not something you should know on paper. This is something you should know deeply. Because that knowledge shows up to the next thing I want you to do. My hope is that over the next 6 to 18 months, you get deep enough that you actually understand it. You understand the logic of how it works. You understand how to maximize it. I'm sure not lost on any of you, including the incumbent tools that you grew up with or the old ones. Tools are only as good as the mechanic using them, right? The ROI of a basketball for LeBron James is billions of dollars. The ROI of basketball for me is 2 torn meniscuses and probably a negative $50,000. This tool doesn't do the work for you, you do the work. In fact, even at hyperscale in a decade with AI, this is gonna be the game. Now, it's gonna get consolidated, there's gonna be a lot of things, and you're gonna have to be better and all these things. But ironically, I actually think the spirit of this industry is the winning spirit of the day. As we become more AI'd out and more teched out and more VR'd out and all that, it is the people that are most human that will win. And I think we need to think about that, you know? And so I implore you, one, to not be in your ivory tower if you have that senior of a position, to not be a manager of. This is 100% the time to get your hands dirty. Humility is often the gateway to success and happiness. This would be a really good time to be professionally humble and get your hands very dirty on every AI tool you possibly can. Here's why. The next thing happens. My belief is the way this is going to play out is there's going to be the tech energy in companies around this, but then there's gonna be the consumer, the B2B, the humanity part of it all. And I believe the people that have the most experience with it have the potential to have the biggest voices in the room in it. Obviously, I'm not aware of how all your organizations work, and I do not know how open your organization is to having you contribute to a conversation that might not be in your department or in your lane. However, thank God, when there's times of change, oftentimes of fear and innovation, things open up a little bit more than they used to. And again, I believe it is your advantage of knowing how to use these tools or have been in it that allows you to start voicing that and bringing that to the table. Both on very selfish career growth within what you do, but also very honestly, I'm sure it's not lost on anybody. By the way, this room is beautiful. I'm sure it's not lost on any of you. This is about life now too. Like everyone's life is gonna be completely engulfed by this technology. This technology sits in the Mount Rushmore of human innovations. This is electricity. This is like when the plane was invented. Like this is going to change the calculus in a very substantial way. So I think that is a very, very big deal. And then I would tell you what probably comes natural to a lot of you if you love what you're doing in this room, it's almost like do not play in the middle. We just spent a lot of time on like go all in, get dirty, and then all the way over here, start strategizing, start playing in your minds that these tools and this reality is fully real. So what do you do with your time then? One thing I'm just spending a lot more time on is going back to the thank you economy and thinking a lot about what do you do to make depth happen in a world where width is going to a scale we've never seen before. In fact, when I put my investor's hat on, the companies I'm investing in are like restaurants and concert companies, and like I literally am about to help someone start a business that charges people to take walks with other people. Like literally paying someone $50 to take a walk with you around the block. And I have a funny feeling when I say that, as you can imagine, like when bottled water came out, could you imagine how that landed? Someone's like, I'm gonna sell bottled water. They were like, it's free. And then it became. I think if I was here 10 years ago and said, I'm gonna start a company that charges people to take a walk with another human, it wouldn't have landed. But I think we all know the world is getting far more digital, loneliness on the rise. It's not like so crazy that could be. Whether it is or not, I do not know. It's a hypothesis, a curiosity. But I think that little side thing that's going on over there really matters here. I think about what do we do? Because I think in CX and customer service pretty much every moment of my life, hence why I wrote that book. What do we do? What do our departments do? We can have such meaningful impact with our human part while the AI part continues to grow. And I think that's where I get really excited. That's what I was hoping to kind of accomplish here. I'm like, man, if I could get some of the people in the room to realize you gotta go really hard on both opposites, become psycho expert on AI, and then become remarkably good at understanding what becomes double offense on human capabilities that are not replicatable in the next 5 years in an AI world. Now you're talking about a department that I think can make significant impact. So look, I mean, this is stuff that I'm so excited about. I'm excited for all of you to be at it. I think you should really, really go hard at it in both places that I'm going. And I think most of all, I'm very grateful because I'm super well parented and got very fortunate in a lot of ways that I've been able to take advantage of big technology shifts over the last 25 years pretty well as an entrepreneur, but I will be incredibly transparent here. And by the way, I'm probably gonna go to Q&A soon, so I don't know how you're planning on doing the runners on each side, so we should get that going, but thank you. But I stand here today, and if I'm being incredibly honest with myself, I've done a really nice job squeezing Web 1.0, Web 2.0, crypto. I bought Bitcoin in 2014, but I bought $4,000 worth, and I could have bought $400,000 worth. Even for someone like me where it comes natural to live around corners, to be fully high risk, to do all that stuff, I myself have not squeezed every moment of when I saw it first or best hard enough. And every time 5 years later, I'm like, damn, why didn't I make more TikToks in 2018? Damn, why didn't I continue my podcast in 2014, 15, 16? Because it would there's unbelievable amounts of me stopping short because I was too early or not squeezing hard enough because I didn't let it play fully out. I will tell you that all of you in this theater find yourself in the perfect spot. You really do. You're already using it. You're already in it. And I could not recommend more you not live with regret and let this moment pass. You're in the right spot, squeeze it, take advantage of it, and I hope that makes someone go harder. I wanted to go macro because what I just shared with you, I genuinely believe is the punchline, right? The two edges, go all in on both. This is the opportunity. Understand how that gives you leverage. Start to be a communicator of what you know in your personal, professional life, your side hustle within the organization. That is the big punchline here. But I wanted to do Q&A because I'm incredibly comfortable going in the weeds on anything that anybody here has within this genre or ecosystem. So that's why I wanted to do it. So yeah, I think raise your hands or stand up and we'll get rocking and rolling.
If you are starting a company today and you don't have any customers yet, so customer experience is like not relevant, where do you think is the most important area to focus, like taking advantage of AI today?
So just in general,
yeah.
Do you have the business? Are you building the business? Are you debating the business?
The business is being built. It's direct to consumer.
It's a direct to consumer brand?
It's an app.
It's an app. So, I think, look, for me, for example, the number one thing I use AI for by a country mile is to think with me. So if I'm you're trying to figure out what's about to happen.
Yep.
And that could literally be hiring your number two. It could be literally how to get awareness in the app store. It could be how to fundamentally get a arbitrage with influencer cosigns, how to get, personal brand investors to get involved. There could be so many things. So for example, when I prompt only in voice. Let me rephrase. I prompt 90-80% of the time, if it's important to me, in voice, because I am a much better communicator in voice than I can write. I did a 39-minute prompt yesterday. I'm serious. I was like, Because it's so crazy. In just 6 months, I've gone from like using it. I'm sure all of you felt this in the last 3-4 years, 2 years, whatever it's been for you. At first you're like, oh, I'm gonna treat this like Google search, right? We had to go through that. You had to go like learn that this is not search. Then I went into like more basic, and now I'm just like, ChatGPT is my friend. Like, you know, like Perplexity, Gemini are like my homies. Like, they're my thinking partners. I do strategy. So for me, it's like literally talking like you talk. Like a 3.5 minute, as if you know who I am, and as if we were having coffee, you like for 1 minute and 47 seconds ask that question. It's sad for me that their answer is gonna be pretty fucking good. You know, this is real life. So I think you have to think through, you have to get unbelievably curious and unbelievably detailed and unbelievably human to get the answers. That's how I would use it. I think it's the thinking. All the other shit, you know, like you can make your deck in it in 1 second. You can build your fucking app in it in vibe coding. And we're in such a crazy time, but I think it's the thinking. The winners are gonna be the most creative and the smartest, not the people that know how to press the fucking buttons. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Hi.
Hey there, I'm Erica.
Hi, Erica.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for being here.
So, as AI evolves and we're all excited and doing all the things, what are some tips that you have for ensuring job security? Because I work with Finn, I program Finn, but eventually there will be nothing else that I can do for it. So what are some things that I can do to ensure that I still have a job in the next 3 to 5 years?
So it's the most fun question. So a couple things. I think the most practical answer was what I ended with. I think you need to be great at Finn and everything else, because that knowledge of how to be a good mechanic will matter. Next, on the other side, you need to decide, there used to not be CX. It was just customer service. Then it became customer experience. I see some shaking heads. They lived it, they know the history. My friends, humanity and human shit is about to become uncomfortably valuable. So, Eric, I need everyone to go into their spirit way more than into their tactics. So if, like for example, let's talk about my company. In my 3,000 person company, our head of HR is called our Chief Heart Officer. I made that up because I came from small business family land and entrepreneur land, and when I got into corporate land, I thought HR was the homies. I swear to God, I am who I am. Like I was a bad student, I was in my own bubble, I didn't know a lot about the world, I was in my shit. And so when I got to corporate only 15 years ago, like I thought everybody loved the HR department because they were the friends. Then I was like, oh fuck, the HR department is the KGB of the CFO. So as we were getting bigger, when we had 100 employees, I was just fucking Santa Claus and grandpa. It was all good, but I was like, fuck, we're about to get big and we're gonna go into HR and everyone's gonna think it's bad. I gotta break the brand. I'm like, fuck HR, we call it people and experience team, the pet team, and the head of it is the Chief Heart Officer. I spoke to her the other day. I want her to use, and the company use AI to make sure we're like keeping up on people's birthdays and all these things, right? But literally I spoke to her yesterday. I was like, I want you to have breakfast, brunch, lunch, dinner, drinks. I want you to be with humans at scale. I don't care about anything else. All the operation stuff is going to get commoditized. I need you to be a human. I think a lot of people here got into something like this because of this. And then you get into it and you're doing a lot of this. I think a lot of you are gonna find yourselves being able to be back into this. I actually think a lot of you, this industry, is actually gonna get into an incredibly good place. A very happy place. And so, like I said, Erica, get gnarly good at Finn and everything else too, and then start thinking about things you could start implementing that are inherently human. Programs, executions, real human shit. Surprise and delight, knowing and doing things for people on their birthday. A, know, then B, do. And I think like all those kind of things, internally, externally, like Let me tell you a story. Actually, this is a fun story I haven't told in 10 years. Thank You Economy. The reason that book went viral, one story inside of it. So Twitter came out. I'm obsessed with it because people are just telling you shit. Like again, for the kids in here, this is norm, but for us over 45, like that's like when I invested in Twitter in 2007, every person I knew made fun of me because literally the joke was, that has no chance. Who cares if you're walking the dog or eating a pizza? And back then, in my mind, I was like, everyone. And that's what ended up happening. Because you're all a bunch of fucking yentas, you know. The story I used in this book is what I want to tell you where I see us doing our thing. There was this thesis I had that because people were saying things on Twitter, you could know more about them, right? And because you knew more about them, you could do things. So I instilled my staff at Wine Library to literally look up every order of a new customer we ever got during this period where I was trying to get this case study and see if you could find them on Twitter. And it had to be like, you know, Gary Vaynerchuk was a good name because it was unique. Like, no Josh Smith, you can't be wrong, it's gotta be right. So they finally, like, it's going like weeks and months and like nothing's happening. I call, my best friend runs the business at the time, so I talk to him every day. I'm like, Brandon, where's my Thank You Economy thing? And finally I'm boarding a plane to LA and I get a phone call from Brandon. He goes, we got something. I'm so pumped. I was like, tell me. He's like, you're not gonna believe this. I was like, huh? So here's what happened. A gentleman from Chicago bought a case of Pinot Grigio that was like $200, very inexpensive. I think we made like $8 on the order. I instilled and told the team to send that gentleman, they found him on Twitter, and his whole Twitter feed was, Jay Cutler, I love you. Jay Cutler, you're the best. Jay Cutler, you're gonna be the best quarterback in football. This was a Chicago Bears quarterback, some of you know because he was married to Kristen, the whole nine, Jay Cutler. I tell the team to buy a $300 signed Jay Cutler jersey and send it to him in the mail and say thank you. $7 in profit, $300 surprise and delight customer thing, thinking that what would happen, because I believe it and we do this all the time in that company, that would make his affinity high for us and his LTV would be much greater. Brandon calls me, he goes, you'll never believe what happened. I'm like, the Chicago guy bought like an expensive case of wine. He goes, nope. He goes, we just got a $4,000 Burgundy order from Plano, Texas. I'm like, okay. He goes, I'm like, did the guy move? He goes, no. He goes, bear with me. I'm like, go ahead. He goes, wait till you hear this note in the customer notes field. I'm like, go ahead. He goes, hey, first of all, Wine Library, this is my first order. Your Burgundy prices are amazing. Do you have this Armand Rousseau, blah, blah, blah. Like all this wine talk. And then he goes, P.S. I found out about your website from my friend in Chicago who you sent a Jay Cutler jersey to. P.S.S. I'm a huge Bruce Springsteen fan. Eric, I think what can be done is we can do the things with AI that are gonna get commoditized whether we like it or not. The things that you think are gonna be eaten up by your job that you used to do. We could see that as bad or we could see that as remarkable because you can now do things with your heart and brain instead of the mundane that was eating up the time. I believe the people in this room that get remarkably epic at the tool, understanding how to do it, to free up all the time to use their heart and brain will be the biggest winners in customer experience. Hello.
Hey.
Oh, how are you?
How you doing, buddy?
Oh my God. How have you been?
Good.
What is this? I don't want to follow. Hi, Laura.
We met on Twitter.
In 2007. I haven't seen you in forever. How you been? Sorry, did she almost fall? Sorry about that.
Gary loves to knock people over.
Yeah, with love.
I spend a lot of time thinking about people like your dad.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
How do we bring the non-technical SMBs into AI? I convened a group in August in Boston. We had 59 restaurants represented. We're trying to tell these chefs, these owners, these operators, like, you can do this, you can do that. What would you say to that end of the market to help them get it?
I mean, this is so nostalgic.
Right? You did this for Twitter, but we gotta do it for AI now.
I'll tell you what I'm saying, and you're seeing what's happening here, everyone. This is why, and even then when we met, I'd already lived it in 96, 7, 8 with web. Like, hey, stores, and barbers, like, you need a website. They're like, I don't use a computer. Like, this is 96, 97, 98. Hey, you need social media, like, right? It's always the same game. What do I say? The same thing I said to you 16 years ago. We're not gonna do shit. The technology is gonna suffocate the society. You and I are good at, for the last 20 years, helping some people take full advantage of the truth. But getting people that want to say no to say yes normally comes when pain hits. SMBs will be here at scale when someone else is beating up their business using AI and finally they give up. We literally just played this movie out with social. Nobody got inspired by me in stages. I mean, our crew, the entrepreneurs, but the companies, especially the big companies, they shifted when pain came. And that's what's gonna happen here. Like, you're gonna do what you do because you're remarkable about it. And we do it from a good place. We're trying to be, like, bring value, historically correct. And you and I are gonna do exactly what we did for the last 20 years. We're gonna tell the truth, we're gonna tell it. You try to say different stories, different analogies, you go to different events, you hope the way you communicate, I know this about myself. For some people in this audience, I'm the perfect type of communicator.